Hi, everybody. My name is Lauren Meyer, EVP of Product Marketing and Brand Strategy for Socket Labs. Today, I'm sitting down for a conversation, or I guess maybe more of a grilling, depending on how you look at it, with our Socket Labs CEO, Tim Moore. I've got a few key questions I'd like Tim to answer, including what compelled him to take the helm at Socket Labs, what mission the company is striving for, as well as what everyone in email land can expect from the Socket Labs teams in the coming months. Plus, I'll actually try to sneak in a question about what he likes to do outside of working hours as well, if he'll let me. So I'll kind of see where that goes. For those of you who don't know, Tim has been in the email industry for more than 15 years, having started his career at ReturnPath before digging even deeper into email strategy and deliverability with roles at Oracle, 250OK, ValueMail, and now as the CEO of Socket Labs, which is not bad for a deliverability geek, I must say, Tim. Good for you. So, Tim is an active member of email industry groups, including MOG, which is a messaging anti-abuse working group that several of us in the company are very passionate about. Tim, thank you so much for being here today. I'm honestly kind of quite surprised that you're letting me get away with this interview, but what do you say? Should we kick it off?
Let's do it. Thanks for having me.
All right, cool. Well, here we go. All right. So you've been in the email industry for more than 15 years, and there are a lot of email service providers and email vendors that you could have worked for. So I guess I'm curious, what brought you to Socket Labs?
Well, first and foremost, as with any email nerd, I think one of the opportunities we have here is to keep building really cool email technology and things that we could be using in our past lives as members of ESPs, as employees of ESPs. So I think when you look at the ESP community, that's one of the communities we want to build for, because we know the problems they face and we know the solutions that we can provide. So I certainly think that there's a lot to be said for just doing that. When I looked at the Socket Labs team and when I started talking to the folks over here, there were a few things that really stood out. First and foremost, it was the people. It's a really passionate group of people. They're all really intelligent. Everybody's fast moving. Everybody's really passionate about supporting our customers and solving complex email problems. So certainly the team was one of the big draws when it came to Socket Labs. Beyond the team, you really see things that show within the product itself. The product itself is incredibly powerful. So you have this on-prem MTA, and that's a rarity in the email universe. You don't see a lot of on-prem MTAs. But then what they've done is the team here has taken that on-prem MTA technology. They've put it into the cloud, as many have done with just sending in general. You have seen some of the technology move to the cloud. And then you're starting to see some innovative things like our StreamScore product. I think when you look at those two items, what's really interesting about them and what I think makes Socket Labs most special is the convergence of those two items. So the convergence of the people and the product. And that's where you really start to see the magic happen. What you really see there is you see this approach that's really designed to figure out the best solution for the customer. So taking that passion that everybody has, applying it to the products that we've built, and finding the right solution that's going to work for the customer. And that's just something that you don't see everywhere within the email industry. So I think that's the really unique opportunity that we have here, is that we really have this technology and this team that can work to find solutions that are going to work best for our customers.
I love that. Yeah. And it's so interesting because there are so many things that you had told me about when you interviewed me to join the company that I was excited about, but there's just so much more that's coming, so much more that's going on. There's just so much more opportunity based on just the infrastructure that we're working with. So it's really an exciting time, which is great. And so I guess actually that brings me to my next question, which, digging a little bit deeper on this one statement that you put out when you started at Socket Labs, which is pretty bold, to be honest, which is, email infrastructure has yet to be optimized. And so I guess, what does that mean? Can you tell us a little bit more about what your claim is there?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you look at email as a whole, a lot of the innovation and investment that's taken place in email over the past 10 to 20 years has really taken place in several areas. So it's really been the who, so what audience are you sending to, and the what type of content are you sending, what type of subject lines are you sending, different variables like that. And so you've seen a ton of investment within email that's taken place in those two categories. Marketing automation companies have done an absolutely fantastic job innovating in those areas. And the progress that you've seen email really make over the past 10 to 20 years is incredible. But one thing that you haven't seen a lot of people really focus on is the email infrastructure itself. When you're talking about email infrastructure, you're not talking as much about the who or the what, you're talking about the how. So, and I don't just mean that mechanically, how is email delivered, although I certainly think that that's an area that there's a lot of optimization space for. But I also mean, how do you get email infrastructure to really cater to all these advanced marketing automation platforms? How do you get email infrastructure to really work for you and your specific use case? And that's where you just haven't seen a ton of innovation within the space.
Yeah, totally agree. And you know what's so interesting is, I mean, I know what our co-founder and CTO Bill Bowles has been working hard upon in the labs, but he's truly taking our Hurricane MTA to an entirely new level that I don't think anybody has seen in that sense. So as a marketer, I'm really excited about it, but I think even more so as like an email nerd, I just can't wait to bring that next level of optimization for people. So I'm really excited to be here for that. So I guess, you know, we've talked a little bit about our infrastructure, but you know, I think there's a lot of people don't really know what else Socket Labs has to offer. So I guess, you know, what else should people be expecting to see from Socket Labs in the next couple of months?
Absolutely. So, great question. And one of the things that we're really highly focused on right now is focusing on doubling down the things that we're already really good at. Customer intimacy and customer service, that's a strength of the company. So, we're going to continue to invest in that. That's something we're absolutely going to double down on. We don't just support our customers, we know them. We understand their problems, we understand their business, we understand how they can maximize the value of our platform and really be able to use it to suit all of their individual email needs. The second area that we're really going to be focused on in the coming months is going to be analytics, but not quite the way that everybody else is. I think one of the things that you see within email is it's really easy to say, let's focus on analytics, because I think almost everybody does to some extent. Everybody knows that that's something that's needed within email. And that's one of the great things about the email channel. All the telemetry that you get back from email is incredible. But I think one thing that you've noticed within the space is that a lot of times people are more focused on really just showing you analytics without a lot of context. And analytics without context, that's a lot like a weather report. And so we don't want to do that. We don't want to focus on that. And so our approach is a little bit different. The way we view products is that they really have three life cycle stages. You have products that show, products that tell, and then products that do. And the way we want to focus here on data is really emphasizing those latter two stages. So not necessarily focused on the show. That's no longer interesting. That's table stakes. I think what we really want to get into is we want to start to get into the contextual data. So how can you get data that's going to tell you something really interesting about your business and about your performance? And more importantly, how do you leverage that data to take action and improve your business and improve your results? So that's going to be something that we invest very heavily in here over the coming months and even beyond. The last category that I would talk about really here is really leveraging that product versatility. So when I mentioned at the beginning that we do have the on-prem and the cloud technology, that's a significant amount of email technology within the market. There aren't a lot of vendors in the space that possess both of those types of technology.
Mhm.
So what we really want to do is we want to figure out, how do we right size that technology to come up with the best tailored solution for our customers? So
Mhm.
what you're going to see in that space is you're going to see a really talented engineering team continue to innovate and push the limits of what's possible within email infrastructure.
Wow. Okay. It sounds like you're doing a whole lot. And honestly, I work for the company and I'm still really excited to hear what's going to happen. Digging a little bit deeper into our ability to customize email delivery at Socket Labs. How are we doing that for large volume senders? And you know, are we really doing anything that's all that different from what's out there right now?
So that's a fantastic question. And I think to truly answer that, you have to look at the history of email infrastructure.
Mhm.
And so when you dig back and you look back 15 years or so, what you really saw is you saw significant adoptance when it came to on-prem infrastructure solutions. So you saw the large marketing clouds, or what today are the large marketing clouds, really focused on those on-prem technologies. And then, really, about 5 years ago, what you started to see is you started to see the pendulum swing, and the market really moved heavily towards cloud solutions. And so, a lot of what kind of are the next generation of marketing clouds and marketing automation companies were heavily focused on pure cloud solutions.
Mhm.
And I think what you're seeing now, for a variety of reasons, some of which are scale, some of which are related to privacy regulations, is you're starting to see the market swing a little bit back towards on-prem. But what I think we have the opportunity to do is learn from what we've learned in the past. On-prem solutions did have their shortcomings as cloud solutions have today. And so I think there's the solution that really is best of breed. And that's what we're really focusing on establishing, is what a true hybrid solution would look like. How can you leverage the advantages of both while ruling out the disadvantages that come with either? And so that's really where we're going to be focused on moving, is how do we start to apply that hybrid cloud solution to those that require that type of email technology?
I love that, and I think, having lived in the trenches for so many years and just having dealt with so many specific use cases for each individual sender, there is so much room for customization, and there's brands that really need that special use case where they do have the on-prem solution, they do have a cloud aspect, or they have some management that's coming from another company, some kind of help. So it's just really exciting to kind of be able to deal with that and have improvements. And this doesn't even get into the fact that you're trying to hit the inbox. This is literally just to get it from our side of the fence to the receiver side of the fence, right? So lots of things going on there.
Absolutely. We think this is the true future of email. If you're a high volume sender in the cloud right now, at some level you do outgrow the cloud. Conversely, if you've been using on-prem technology for an extended amount of time, there are some advancements that have been made in that technology. And you mentioned at the beginning, that's what we're really advancing right now, is we're taking a ton of steps to make our on-prem solution better and more modernized. And when you start to look at that, that's where I think there's a real opportunity within email. I do think that there's a solution out there that is neither cloud nor on-prem, but is somewhere in between, that's going to really fit the needs of those ultra high volume senders out there.
Right. Wow. Very cool. Well, I can't wait to start telling the stories about those. It's going to be fun. Well, I guess we can maybe move on to the fun one now that we've gotten through some of that tougher stuff. If you weren't chatting with me right now, or I guess busy running Socket Labs, since you are our CEO after all, what would you be doing? I guess, what are you passionate about outside of work?
My wife and I have two boys, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. So that keeps us busy with the overwhelming majority of our free time when we do find free time.
Shocking, yeah, right.
So certainly spending time with them. And we do live in Colorado, so we enjoy spending time with them up in the mountains. So that's certainly something we enjoy doing. Traveling is, as much as you can do that with kids that age, that's something we also enjoy doing. As far as me personally, the two passions I really have are cooking and craft cocktails. So if I weren't in technology and within email, I would most likely be in culinary school learning how to be a better cook.
Wow, nice. I had no idea. And I guess, what's so interesting is, like, when you pair that love of travel with your love of culinary things, I think that's like a great match. So I'm curious, what would be, and maybe you can leave the kids at home for this one, what would be your ideal travel destination if you could just break through this COVID thing? And is that centered around food, or is it something else?
I think I would give equal weighting to a foodie destination versus just a beach destination. So if you can find a place that accomplishes both, that's where I would be.
Nice. That sounds awesome. I'm now hungry and ready to go to the beach. So very, very much thank you for that. All right. Well, I guess that kind of brings us to the end, email geeks. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we're going to be dropping our CPO, Brett Baer, into the hot seat. I actually have a couple of curveball questions for him, so get ready for that, Brett. Thanks so much to you, Tim, for being our first interview, and to all of you for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, I guess, see you in email land.
Thanks, Lauren.